A single day can change everything. One fall day in 1940, we knew Britain was impregnable, protected by the sea, and defended by brave souls on every clifftop. 24 hours later, all we could do was watch as the German forces took the coast and drove their tanks into the heart of the nation. When the blockade began in 1948, we thought the people of West Berlin would be safe. But the Soviets had other ideas. One December day is all it took for the fragile peace to shatter. And once again, the streets were filled with war and death. In 1962, we thought the Cuban Missile Crisis was a bluff. It was bravado, playground bullies flexing their muscles. No one would ever push the button. Then one day in October that year, someone did push it. An island paradise was turned into the epicenter of all-out thermonuclear war, threatening our very existence. These are our stories. Now, it's your turn. The town of Dukla, home to a dogged pocket of German resistance. The advancing Red Army had been forced to halt and deal with this stubborn enemy. As the two sides exchanged blows from afar, the townsfolk found themselves being pushed steadily towards the brink of starvation. For one Soviet artillery captain, this was the final straw of a war which he had grown weary of. Unwilling to watch the population starve itself to death, Captain Anatoly Petrov had been running black market operations to and from the stricken town. It had proved a lucrative move, but one that came with enormous risks from both sides. Anatoly Petrov knew he had a fight on his hands, but now he was going up against former comrades. If he was to escape the wrath of Stalin, he had no choice but to destroy the armored units bearing down on his position. Captain Petrov issued the orders to his comrades to mobilize. They would have to defend the town from the advancing NKVD. Enemy units were rushing towards the town. Petrov and his men were now the only thing standing in their way.
Орудие заряжено. Попадание. Выстрел.
Scout units would play a critical role in spotting targets for Petrov's units to bombard.
Орудие готово к стрельбе. Орудие.
It was no good. Petrov signaled his artillery units to move to a new position and find a more favorable line of sight. The key to winning the day rested with Petrov being able to communicate correctly with the remainder of his Allied batteries.
Броня не пробита. Уничтожен. Огонь! Не пробили. Орудие готово к стрельбе. Выстрел. Броня не пробита. Попадание. Орудие.
Petrov and his unit knew that once they opened fire, they'd be vulnerable to counter-battery fire.
Орудие готово к стрельбе. Выстрел. Прямое попадание. Орудие заряжено. Огонь. Ты пошел. Готов.
Petrov's men cheered with the NKVD units littering the battlefield. This had been a glorious day for the captain to remember.
Блестящая победа!
The war was over. The Allies had won, but not with the sudden and expected capitulation of the Axis. Instead, the end had dragged on for far too long. The post-war victory reveille was now being subdued by the stark realization of how much had been lost on both sides. This had been a conflict which had made casualties of everyone. Yet there were still a few who could afford to enjoy their hard-earned spoils. Those who had seen an opportunity in the chaos that reigned around them and grabbed at it with both hands. Some would label it profiteering. They, however, would call it entrepreneurial. The black market had proved too tempting for Anatoly Petrov. Even though the war had ended, he continued to ride his luck selling to those that needed it the most. It was only a matter of time before his luck would run out, but until then, he would take whatever he could. The world was about to plunge into another conflict it wasn't ready for, an era that would reward those willing to be paid.